episode number 60. This month we are recording early because Arthur seems to go to somewhere far in the planet, and he will not be available later. Hello, Arthur. How are you doing?
Oh, great. And I wouldn't say it's early, I'd say it's on time. It would be released like in the middle of the month, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. The idea is to talk about what is happening lately in the PHP world in the previous month. So I agree, because this time we're recording on June 2nd. So it's about time to record. And this month we have many interesting topics to talk about. But first, let me comment about a sponsor that is actually sponsoring this show. This company is named Hotjar. I don't know if you have heard. Probably, I think it's a brand new company that specializes on analytics and the user feedback. And I looked at their product, and it looked interesting because it's a new powerful tool that reveals the online behavior and voice of your users. So it's not just tracking where your users have been going in your site pages, but also what they have to say, if they're doing the expected behaviors, the things that you want. So by combining analysis and feedback tools, Hotjar gives a big picture of how to improve the user experience and performance and the eventual conversion rates. And the analysis tool allow you to measure and observe behavior, what the users do, while the feedback tools allows you to hear what the users are saying. So it's a combination of tools. And their motto, well, for the above reasons that I mentioned, Hotjar tagline is all-in-one analytics and feedback at a fraction of the cost. So it's a motto that fits them well, because I think plans start at only $29 a month. So thank you, Hotjar, for sponsoring this show. And those that are interested, they can follow a link that I'll post in show notes to hotjar.com. And talking about sponsors, we have also a sponsor of a new sponsor for the Innovation Award, which came in a good time, because the Innovation Award is getting many nominees. I think in April there were like 16 nominees. We had a record number of nominees, and if all they want to pick a prize, there not be enough sponsors. So a new sponsor is always welcome. And in this case, this sponsor is SourceGuardian. SourceGuardian develops tools for encoding your PHP source code in case you want to protect them before selling to customers. And so welcome SourceGuardian to be our new sponsor. And given this, let's start with the usual set of topics that we have to talk about the PHP world. You have many topics, so we are going to try to be brief, not talk too much about each of the topics. And we are going to start precisely by the latest releases of PHP, starting precisely by PHP 5.4.41. As we always mention, it's always good to remember that this 5.4 branches in security fixes mode, so you will only see security fixes for now. And when PHP 7 will be released, there will be no more versions of PHP 5.4. And given that, moving on to PHP 5.5 and 5.6, there's 5.525 and 5.6 0.9 exactly. And if we compare, it seems that it is mostly bug fixes, and some are security fixes also included in PHP 5.4, and the rest is just bug fixes. Some are common to 5.5 and 5.6. So given that, I don't think there is nothing specific to talk about these new versions. It's just the usual recommendation. If you are using these versions, take a look and see if the bugs that were fixed affected your code and consider upgrading. Now, we are going to start talking about very interesting topics related with PHP 7. Specifically, well, this is not exactly new, but Zen has published an infographic about PHP 7, and they talk about the improvements of PHP in raw benchmarks, but also in real-world applications. They mention here Magento, Drupal. I'm not sure if this is large enough. Let me try to increase the screen here. Zoom scale. It's probably already better. And Magento, Drupal, we can see great improvements. And it is interesting that not only compare PHP 5.6 with PHP 7, but also HHVM 3.7, which is the so-called Facebook PHP. Actually, not just PHP. It's HHVM also powers a hack language, which is has certain features that not even PHP 7 will have, at least for now.
That actually raises a question. Do they compare a plain PHP version on Hip Hop compiler, or do they compare hack on Hip Hop compiler?
I think they are comparing just PHP code, because hack can run PHP code as is. And so to make it fair, I think it only makes sense to compare PHP code, actually the same code. And well, then there's WordPress, and then they show some benchmarks of frameworks, Zen Framework 2 and Laravel, Sure CRM, and they also show some benchmarks comparing with other languages, doing some Mandelbrot fractals. I think this is execution time, right? Or else PHP wouldn't look good.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is always great, not only to promote PHP, but also to promote Zen. So that's why they invested in producing these nice charts. But the reason I comment about this, it's because I noticed that there was a tweet by Andy Gutmans, which is the founder and CEO of Zen, and where I mentioned something like our previous share PHP 7 benchmarks are already out of date. PHP 7 will be even faster.
So and that's the one we just viewed, right?
Well, actually, I think there is more to that, because there is a comment here, a related comment by Christopher Jones. I think he's from Oracle. And there's a link to some page on git.php.net that shows something that I'm not sure what this means, but I'm trying to guess. So if I guess wrong, please excuse me, because this is very recent. I only noticed this the last days and did not have time to analyze. It seems there is a new improvement on PHP 7 that they are calling feedback-directed optimization, which is something that Christopher Jones was mentioning here, steps to compile PHP 7 with feedback-directed optimization. the matrices may give up to 10% real performance. So I guess those benchmarks you can add like 10% over that. So the expectation is that PHP 7 will be even faster than it was estimated initially.
But it
Well,
means it should be trained exactly with that script that it will be running. If the script will change drastically, it could work even slower probably.
well, to tell you the truth, I didn't have the time to analyze what is this feedback directed optimization. So this is, maybe you should get back to this on a future show to maybe try to understand what this is, because this probably is not a trivial thing. Well, anyway, this is a great news. It's always great to see that PHP 7 will not only be fast, but it will be even faster than everybody was already celebrating. And so let's move on. And first I'd like to comment, because I was looking at the topics and all of a sudden I see lots of people showing links to a site where they show some code running on different versions. And this site is called 3v4l.org. It says online PHP and JVM shall run code in 150 plus different versions. So if I put here, I'm not sharing. I stopped sharing. So excuse me, CDB. Okay, can you see it now?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know if you can zoom a bit further. Oh, now you run eval, and below here it shows the output and shows it in many different versions. So it's not like it just compares a few versions. I think it goes down further to PHP 4.3. So if you want to compare, you can compare the performance of small code snippets. This site seems to be great. And then here you can have a performance report. The show is HVM, PHP 7, PHP 6, 5, 4, all down.
Bigger is better, or what is it?
Sorry?
What is the metric? It's time, right? In seconds. So bigger is worse.
No, yeah, this says system time. System time, I suppose, if I'm not mistaken, it's the time that your program is waiting for some activity to finish. But anyway, this is the usage of time of your CPU. I don't know if this is all I can see now. Yes. And they also show the disassembly of the codes using Vulkan Logic Dumper. Some references, no references. Segmentation, was there any segmentation fault? No. HHVM analyze output, no messages. HHVM bytecode, which is sort of a disassembly of the bytecodes. RFC branches, well, this is interesting because it can show you the performance somehow of the code. And I found this because I was looking at the topics that people are discussing in the PHP internals. And I found this interesting because now it seems that lots of people, when they want to to show certain code, they just point to this site to show how that code is doing, I think at least in performance. So moving on, let's talk about, for instance, a new proposal to add a numeric type int. Sharing the screen here. Oh, damn. Okay, there it goes. Well, this is a proposal by Yasuo Hogaki, because we now have type hints for scalar values, can be integers and floats. But sometimes you take a value that for somewhere, for instance, from the user input, that can be a float, but the float can be also an integer. So the proposal here is to have a type int named numeric, which would accept values regardless if they are perfect integers or float. And I think this addresses some concerns that were remaining regarding the current implementation of the type hints. I think this is useful because it addresses real case. What do you think, Arthur? Do you see this happening a lot in your programs?
Well, I think the problem basically that it describes here further is that you can't really specify what type of int you're using. Is it signed or unsigned, or is it 32-bit or 64-bit? And that could be confusing to different systems. So if basically we are having some kind of type hinting, it should be more explicit to say what exactly numeric value we have. And
yeah.
If we are having a type hint, so yeah, why not have it more provide a more explicit way to define it.
Right, and there are also the case that the number is an integer, but it doesn't fit in the range of 32 or 64 bits. So it has to be promoted to float, and if you put there that it is an integer, it would fail the test of the type hint. So I guess this is a good idea. There is some discussions still going on, and I think this is going to be probably a proposal, even if it is for PHP 7.1. Well, I think, I'm not sure, we don't know yet, because people are already discussing proposals for PHP 7.1. So moving on with the next topic, there is a proposal here also by Yasuo Hogaki. This is not very clear. I think I probably need to read it again to understand. But the idea, well, the title is Preload Scripts and Preload the Scripts Only Options. I'm not sure if this is like those prepend options that you have in PHP. But the concern here, at least in the beginning, was to eliminate possibilities of inclusion attack. And I think it's like, if I got this right, I'm not sure yet, is to have a sort of a list of a script that it could load and reject others. But
like that.
yeah, so it would be a sort of whitelist. So if you have some alien script, it would be rejected. And I guess this will improve the security of PHP. So if I got this right, that's it, and that it could be a good idea. And of course, this would be for PHP 7.1. So moving on with the next topic. Better share the screen, or else nobody will see it. Well, now that PHP 7 is practically defined, people starting on PHP 7.1 will start working on a separate branch. So Julian Polly, which is the release manager of PHP 7, he is concerned that about a couple of things. One is create separate branches for 7.0 and 7.1. And another is to elect the release managers for 7.1. So that's more politics than actual development, but it's an important step that the PHP core developers need to give, which is to elect somebody that wants to take the burden to be the release manager.
Burden?
Well, do you think that's
another of being a release manager or something like that?
Well, first, because I think it's not a paid job. It's not an easy job. It's not paid, and it seems that my Google disconnected me for a while. Well, as I was saying, being a release manager is not an easy task, and also it's a volunteer task, and the person that takes the task must like it a lot and manage all the discussions, liking to be involved, and that's what I mean, be a burden. Like, for me, I wouldn't take it. Anyway, this is just something that we mentioned, so I need to move on to the next topic, which is, I think, quite important one, which is related with the security libraries that PHP is using. I mean, regarding cryptography. So far, we have been using a lot mcrypt and also OpenSSL. But, well, mcrypt, as we mentioned before, it hasn't been touched in 8 years. After this, it was 2007. Yeah, OpenSSL, well, it could be used, but it's not is for all the purposes that mcrypt is. So there is this new extension called libsodium.
Yeah.
Okay, it's in the right window.
Libsodium,
yeah, but it's my mouse that is jumping again. And libsodium has been in PECL for a while now. So the proposal is to include it in PHP 7.1. Well, there is
extension, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is meant to be a replacement for
yeah,
for mcrypt. I don't know if it will provide the same list of functions. Let's take a look if there is some documentation, because until now I did not have seen this library. And looking at the source code, I probably am not going to figure much about this. It seems, yeah. I was trying to find any documentation other than the README, but I guess the README, that's what we have. So basically, it's a set of new functions. Maybe, just maybe, or at least it's my wish, that somebody provides wrapper functions that emulate the mcrypt on top of libsodium. I don't know. What do you think, Arthur?
Yeah, most probably. I now read that all new constants will be contained within the sodium class in the global node. So yeah, so basically the API will be the same. There will be sodium class. So someone would need to submit a PHP class to wrap the functions of mcrypt if that's possible even, and that would provide backwards compatibility to a lot of scripts.
Yes, now that you mentioned that, there are several classes that sort of try to do that. There is one that is even in the queue. It will be approved soon, probably before this podcast is released. That emulates MySQL extension on top of MySQLi. Because we mentioned about it in previous podcasts, as you remember. And well, I don't know, but cryptography is not as easy to deal as MySQL wrappers, I think. And so, well, let's see. I know that there's a class submitted recently called something like random bytes that provides you several options to generate pseudo random numbers that are used often in cryptography applications. Well, anyway, there is this proposal for PHP 7.1 that using libsodium. Let's see what happens. We are still far until we actually reach to a point of having anything usable regarding PHP 7.1. So moving on to the next topic, let's try to do this relatively fast. It seems the release schedule of PHP 7.0 was sort of
You're not sharing screen, just sorry.
Updated. Yeah, I was trying to figure which part of the screen it's the one that should be shared.
Yeah.
Okay, here you go. There's a timetable. We have some dates here. They don't say much, except that the alpha 1 is for June 11, alpha 2 June 25, and then they expect the final version to be November 12, which is a reasonable expectation. Previously they mentioned middle October, but okay.
It's completely okay.
Yeah, it's not a big delay, and I think nobody will die to wait one month. Although I imagine lots of people are very eager to get PHP 7 out. And usually what happens when you release a major PHP version, lots of people will try it, but they realize their code is broken in many places. So they have to move on
Move back.
Well, move back temporarily, but they have to fix the code, right? So now we are going to move on about talking about the latest articles published on the PHP classes blog. I mean tutorial articles, some very interesting. And now that PHP classes is sponsoring the publication of nice articles, good quality articles that teach something to everybody, we are going to start mentioning, well, we have to do this very quickly because we still have a lot to talk about, but we are going to start with this article that is with the title 3 Ways to Access Application Common Data. in PHP. And basically, what the author of Valorema means about common data, it's data that is sort of accessed from many parts of your application. It could be configuration, it could be localization text, so you can adapt your application to different languages. So he mentions three approaches. The two first ones are very common. The third one that he describes, it's not so trivial, but let's comment first about these two. Global data is the most obvious. It's probably the one that most people have been using since the early days of PHP. Only you add global variables to share data that can be easily accessed from many parts. Now, the problem with global data is that can be name collision, and sometimes you can think that you are accessing a global variable that is meant for some purpose, but because it has the same name of other global variable declared somewhere, you can have problems that you need to fix by renaming at least part of their variable. So a better approach is to use the static approach, which is to use static variables or functions to access to store common information that you may want. So the author gives some examples, and finally he talks about the gateway pattern approach, which it's not evident, but he describes it in the article. We are not going to talk about it in great detail because you need to move on. Still have several other interesting articles to comment. And but okay, the article is very interesting. You can go later and read it with more detail. So moving on to the next article, which is another article written by Dave Smith, which has been a very active author with many articles, not only articles, but a great book review that he's been publishing. It's good to see skilled authors that are very enthusiastic and produce good quality content. And in this case, where did he go? Over here. In this case, he talks about how to create object models. This is a very simple article. I mean, the topics are very basic. These are more targeted to users that do not quite understand why you should be using object-oriented programming and what you can do with it, how to extend classes, and so.
It's like a crash course into what is good in PHP OOP approach.
Yeah, because I have noticed this again and again. Some people, I'm using object-oriented programming, but they do not quite understand why. They're just copying the trend.
Because you expect them to submit classes, not scripts.
Well, not just here in the PHP classes, but actually this is sometimes people even that are a bit lost, they even submit global code and the global code is not the purpose of this site. Would you like to convert it to a class? And then I point them to some tutorial about classes and they, I can convert it. And then they submit a class, but still it's not in great shape, probably not following good design patterns. So it's always great to have articles like this from David. He explains things very clearly. And for that, he had lots of nice comments and people thanking him for explaining it in a way that is easy to understand. So congratulations to Dave. Now again, another interesting article. This one is not as trivial because it's about security. It talks about multi-factor authentication. It talks about what are authentication factors, and when you can have one or more authentication factors, and why it is good. And so it talks about this topic again, in the good and simple language that everybody can understand. This has been a great article. So people can understand better the topics related with security. So the next article this time is by Ashraf Gaith. He is from Bosnia, I think, and he talks about Leaflet Library. I guess you know Leaflet Library, Arthur.
No, I would want to see a screenshot how it looks like in the end.
Yeah, well, basically it's a library. It's a sort of an open source version of Google Maps. I mean, it's an open source library that can interface with mapping services like OpenStreetMap, and there's another one that I forgot the name, but OpenStreetMap is
Mapbox.
Yeah, exactly, Mapbox. And all those mapping services, they serve tiles, which are those parts of the maps that you can use to render a bigger map. And in this article, I published almost complete application on how to create a maps-based application on top of Leaflet library, which is JavaScript, but the code here to integrate it with your application is in PHP, of course. So it was an interesting article, and for that he got lots of nice comments. And I already know that there will be a follow-up article, this time simple one, but we'll get back on that next month. Another article, this one is about class abstractions, is yet another one by Dave Smith, and it talks about how to create abstract classes, and it explains what are abstract classes and why they are useful. And this was just published today, and it is very interesting again. It is something that I wouldn't say it was targeted to beginners, because I know people that are not exactly beginners and they do not fully understand the concepts of abstract classes. Okay, this is an interesting article, and I guess this is the last one. We had many articles, and the next topic that I would like to comment is a different type of article, which are the book reviews. So starting this month, the PHP class started publishing book reviews. Actually, restarted publishing book reviews, because they were published already in the past, of either authors that would like to have their books reviewed, or some reviewers asked to review certain books. So we have here recently 4 book reviews, and we have lots of others in the queue already. So the first one is actually me that reviewed it. It's about PhoneGap mobile application development. Because well, I have a parallel project related with PHP classes that as a part of that is a mobile application. I'm not going to comment here, obviously, because it's a different business. But I wanted to evaluate how it could be implemented with PhoneGap and reuse the knowledge that you have of dealing with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS to implement the so-called hybrid mobile applications. And so I reviewed the book and I presented it here. I think the book is very interesting, and I recommend it to people that can develop mobile applications that do not need to take extensive use of the native resources of these different types of mobile devices. And for that, I recommended the book. Artus, I don't know, you have been developing mobile applications, but are you familiar with PhoneGap?
I tried many frameworks, including PhoneGap, but I did not use it for production stuff like that. But I have a question. The book seems to be more related to JavaScript than PHP, so there is no book reviews in the JavaScript site, or they are shared, or how are they connected?
Well, in reality, these reviews are published on the PHP classes site because it has much more exposure. It provides much more exposure to the books than JS classes have because it's much smaller. And so we are reviewing books that are not just about PHP, as we're going to see here. For instance, let's see. There's this one about WordPress. Well, WordPress is PHP, not a good example. This one was reviewed by Leopold and Craster de Almeida, and he also talked about what is this book, and talked about how far it covers the development of sites using WordPress. Despite of being WordPress, the book itself is not so much about PHP, but rather using WordPress and taking advantage of the many existing plugins, which are PHP, but you don't need to know PHP to use them. Another book, this one called Build APIs That You Won't Hate by Phil Sturgeon. And this one was reviewed by Dave Smith again. He's very enthusiastic, and it's great because he produces very good quality content, and it's useful for the whole PHP classes community in general. And it talks about what is this book. And this book is still not about specific about PHP. It's about building APIs which can be written in many languages. Yeah. And this is also an interesting book. Oh, my mouse is jumping again. This is another interesting book. If you are developing applications that need an API, for instance, you are developing a mobile application that you need to access resources provided by a server-side part of your application. You need to implement an API. So in this book, the author is sharing his knowledge, what he learned about how to create APIs that once you are done with it, you won't hate them, nor you, nor your boss. So I think it is a great book, as Dave mentioned in his review, and it's interesting that it is already translated into Portuguese, Turkish, Italian, and French, besides the original one that is in English. So I think this book is popular, and the review gives a good overview of what is the book about and why it is good to have in our shelf. The last review that we present here is PHP Beyond the Web by Rob Halley. This one is very specific to PHP, but not the traditional PHP that you use for web-based development. You can use it for many other purposes that are not web-based. And this review by Luis Martins Ulloa presents the topics that the book covers, like command line interfaces and other resources that you may want to deal when you are developing non-web-based applications, and the book itself is recommended. For instance, if you need to implement parts of your applications that are not based on web. This is not for mobile. The applications is just for using PHP CLI version and all types of applications that can rely on that environment. And with this, we reach the end of the book reviews. And well, what I can say is that there are many more reviews of books coming. They take some time to produce, but for instance, if you have a book, have written a book and it is already available, you can contact the site, which is send the message to info@phpclasses.org, and we'll try to find a reviewer, because there are many authors willing to have their book reviewed, and there are also reviewers willing to review interesting books. And if it's possible, it's not always possible, because sometimes the books are not so interesting for the potential reviewers, and I'm sorry, you can't do much about it. We try the best to find a reviewer, but I think so far we have found reviewers for all books, but some books are not so interesting. You don't have all the reviewers interested, but okay. And besides books, also nice articles. If you are willing to write nice articles, not only you can publish them in a site like PHP Classes that gives you great exposure, but you can also be paid for that. So it could be an interesting option for you to make some money out of your work, rather than just publishing in your blog, and probably very few people will see it and they don't make much from it. So with this, we are going to move on with the next section, on which we comment about the Innovation Award, first of the JS classes. Okay, let me share this screen here. Okay, so we are going to start talking about the winners of the Innovation Award edition of March, which they were voted in April, and in May the results come out. So since we have already published the results, we can talk about these packages. Artus, which packages would you like to comment first now?
Okay, let me comment on. First one is ad block detection for Google AdSense, developed by Suresh Kumar from India. And what this package does, it tries to check if there are any JavaScript elements in your web page that are trying to load AdSense, because if they are not there, then probably they were stripped out by an ad block. And this package also reports it to Google Analytics. So inside Google Analytics, you can see how many visitors of your website have disabled or enabled ad blocking and disabled AdSense. So you can see how many of your visitors can see your ads, and then you may try to think of other ways to monetize this. So that's why I really like this package.
Yeah, and it can be useful for knowing which users are presenting ad block. There are some users, not many, probably like 10% of the users use ad block. They don't like ads. It's okay, it's their option. They are not supporting those that produce content and need the money generated by the ads. But, well, okay. That's a different discussion. And anyway, in the case of this class, it is useful, as you described, to at least know if ad block is being used to detect blocking of AdSense ads.
Yeah, so as I said, you can try thinking about other monetization methods. So, and Suresh Kumar got one book of choice by Pact for this package. Second package I wanted to comment on is JavaScript HTML5 file reader, which basically uses not like a standard HTML file input, but trying to use HTML5 file reader API to retrieve contents of the file. So it's it would provide even more than like when you upload if you use it file input, you usually simply upload it, but with it you can use the same file input to read the file in the same web page without even yet uploading it. So you could like display a thumbnail of the image you are going to upload, or display contents of it. I recently also used similar in the app I was developing, so it's quite a great addition, and this package would simplify the work that you would need to check availability and work with files. So it was developed by Andras Stoss from Hungary, and he got a downloadable webbook of choice by O'Reilly for this package.
Yeah, and I also like to comment a couple of other classes. Let me share the screen here. Classes objects. And this one again is from Suresh Kumar from India, and he has this class browser-specific CSS, which uses a clever trick to in the same I would say page, you can use different CSS sets of definitions depending on the type of device that they're using. So he defines certain styles. It's probably better to look at the code very quickly. We don't have much time, but oh, I forgot to log in. Yeah, because I was in another machine. Okay, here we go. So this class, oh, it's minified. We are not going to see it much. I have to unminify it. Let's see. I don't know if there is an yeah, unfortunately, it did not provide a regular class, but it defines some sets of styles, and depending on the platform, it will match the names of the styles with the type of browser. If you are in Windows, if you are in as you may see here. So depending on the browser, you can have styles that match the different browser, and use just JavaScript to achieve this effect, and it was quite interesting. Okay, now moving on, the other class that I wanted to mention is one called Encyclopedia. This is not very trivial to understand. It's from Rian Salari from Indonesia, and he provides an interface to access I would say a large set of value pair objects, but it employs a trick to minimize the loading of everything into a large object. So it can load small objects that provide access to parts of the a bigger object, which could be an encyclopedia with names and the respective meanings. And about the JavaScript, let's see how it is going, the Innovation Award rankings for 2015. Sharing the screen here again. Well, so far, this includes already the winners of April because the results come out. So far, Anders Toth is leading with 3 packages and 10 points, followed by Suresh Kumar that raised also to the first place, again with 3 packages and 10 points. Then Gianluca Zanferrari with 1 package and 7 points, Jackson Knowlton 1 package and 6 points, Stephen Chapman 1 package and 4 points. Then several other authors with 1 package and 3 points. And by country, the rankings are still pretty much the same, except that instead of names of authors, we have countries, because there is only 1 author per country. Unlike the PHP classes, the JS class is not as popular, but we still quite have a nice collection of packages. The first one is Hungary with 3 packages and 10 points. The second one, well, actually tied, is India with also 3 packages and 10 points. Then Netherlands with 7 points. United States also with 7 points, but 2 packages. And then follows Australia with 1 package and 4 points, and several other countries with 1 package and 3 points. Well, now let's move to the Innovation Award of PHP. We are going also to talk about the Innovation Award winners of March. Sharing the screen here. And we have like 10 nominees. They were nominated in March. And the results came out. They were voted in April, and the results come out in May. And let's comment about a few artists. Which ones would you like to start to comment?
Okay, the first one I would want to comment is PHP CI Cert Self-Signed Certificate, developed by Vladimir Zrita from Chile. And basically, usually there is an organization that gives and signs and verifies your certificates. But in this case, this PHP package can create their own certificate and sign it themselves and verify it, and as I understand, even do it for other domains. So it's probably would not be very signed or verified in the browser, but it would work for testing purposes definitely. So that's why it's great. And Vladimir got PHP Storm ID personal permanent license for this package. Next package I wanted to comment on is Xbenchmark, which is really useful for benchmarking or trying out your scripts and different performances. It was developed by Xavier Perez from Spain, and it could create logs with access to the script and output different kind of metrics there, like time it took for script to execute, amount of parameters used, URL, all the parameters that you passed, and store in different logs. So it works really great for trying out, experimenting with optimizations, and maybe even several configurations.
Actually, this class was nominated more because it can measure the performance of the whole script, not just parts of the code. So
whole request basically, yeah.
Yeah, so it uses a script that uses that setting auto prepend file. So once the script,
include any additional code, basically.
yeah, exactly. So it can start to measure the benchmark from the beginning to the end. So it uses a register shutdown function to determine when the script has finished. So it is a bit different than the usual benchmark classes.
Yeah, and Xavier got one downloadable copy of Code Lobster Professional for this package.
Well, on my behalf, I would like to comment on a few classes as well. Let's move on. The first one that I would like to comment is one that is not trivial and not the type of users that you want to have everyday application, but it's still innovative because what it does is that it can parse the configuration of DNS as implemented by the Bind program. Bind is a popular DNS server program, very old, and it can parse the value, instruct the values from bind 9 DNS server configuration. And wait, we jumped here. And for this, Jan picked one copy of Commodore IDE, which is a nice choice. And the next package that I would like to comment is, again, Dave Smith is appearing everywhere, which is a great thing because he always sends great contributions. In this case, he sent a package for emulating a slot machine. It can emulate the pulling of the angles and discounting credits and so on. So it could be used like to present a virtual slot machine in your web browser. And for this, Dave picked one downloadable copy of a PHP ED Professional, which is also a nice ID prize. Now, for the Innovation Award, rankings. Let me go back here. And so far, the rankings of 2015 already include the nominees of winners of April, right? So far, David Smith is already ranking #1, but is with 2 packages and 19 points. The last month, he earned many points because there were so many nominees that the winner gets much more points than if there were less. So he is now #1 with 2 packages and 19 points, followed by Mohammed Al-Ashal, I guess he's from Egypt, with 1 package and 16 points, then followed by Andrea Leshti with 2 packages and 16 points, so he is tied in second place. Then Matthew Knowlton with 1 package and 14 points, then Wap Morgan with 2 packages and 14 points. And there goes my jumping mouse. And then Samuel Adeshina from, I think is Nigeria, right, with 1 package and 18 points. Dimitri Mamatov, 1 package and 12 points. Mohamed Arfin, 1 package and 11 points. Then Jasenko Rakovic from Bosnia, right? Yeah. With 1 package and 11 points. And then Abius X from Iran with 1 package and 11 points. So the Innovation Award winners ranking for 2015 is getting very interesting. Let's see how is the ranking by countries. And this is getting even more interesting because now we have many authors from different countries. But so far, Russian is leading with 5 packages and 41 points, followed by United States with 3 packages and 33 points. Then Egypt, 3 packages and 28 points. Nigeria, 2 packages and 20 points. Pakistan, 2 packages and 19 points, Switzerland 2 packages and 16 points, Germany 4 packages and 15 points, Brazil 2 packages and 15 points, and Venezuela with 2 packages and 11 points, and finally Iran with 1 package and 11 points. And as I mentioned, this is getting very, very interesting, and given that the following month we have lots of nominees to rank, to score for the Innovation Award, this competition will get even more interesting.
So, but these results already include the latest results, right?
This ranking includes the April winners, but then in May there are also 15 nominees.
Well, yeah.
Well, in reality, there was a sort of a campaign in PHP classes that has been increasing over time to encourage authors to send innovative packages, not just send regular packages, send packages that are innovative. Unfortunately, fortunately, they are enjoying a lot. They are participating a lot, and you can see that many good packages are being published. I know next month we have even more work to comment about all the 16 nominees that were presented. You can see them here. But, well, let's deal with 1 month at a time. Okay, with this, we practically ended this already long podcast. I'd like to thank Artus again for coming and helping to comment on these interesting PHP topics. I also would like to thank Hotjar for their sponsorship, and I would like to recommend everybody to try their product if they ever decide to want to improve the opportunities and the usability of your site to go and try their product at hotjar.com. And with this, we reached the end. So on my behalf, that is all for now. Bye.
Bye.